Put that coffee down.
I'm not here to waste your time, okay? I certainly hope you're not here to waste mine. So I'm gonna keep this short.
Helen, we're both in sales. Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman.
Most valuable commodity I know of is information. Wouldn't you agree?
Coffee's for closers only.
Well, hello there, friend. Welcome back to the Behind Your Back podcast with me, Bradley Hartman, founder and CEO, as it turns out, of the Behind Your Back sales company. This podcast, we talk about leadership, personal productivity, time management, and the craft of selling in the construction industry. Now, as we talk about selling, obviously, this can refer to external customers and prospects. It can also refer to internal folks, people that we work with, whether they work for us or people that we report to. And in episodes past, we have come across many questions that our clients and listeners have asked us, and we've kind of classified these as asking for a friend moments, where people look for us for advice. We try to put on our thinking caps, talk to the smartest people we know to provide some helpful feedback. And today we will be talking about a particularly thorny issue that I've been sitting on for a while for the primary reason that I haven't been smart enough to figure out on my own. So for this one, I have brought in my guest, my friend, my co-author on Yes, Fear Works, But There's a Better Way, the Director of Human Resources, Mr. Parr Moyer.
How you doing today?
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Once again, yeah, dude, I've been sitting on this thing. As you can see, there's some different issues, and you and I could do a 4-hour podcast on this one issue, but we will not.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, there's a lot here. So, Carl, I'm going to give you the quick rundown, and then hopefully we can give Chris from Wisconsin, as it turns out, give him some helpful advice to put him on his way. So here is the scenario for asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend.
Chris from the, I was going to say great state of Wisconsin. I'm going to say the good state of Wisconsin. They're all right.
It's a little harsh.
No, it's good. Have you ever been there?
Yeah, I like it. Drove through it a month ago.
Yeah, it's good.
It's pretty.
It's good. So he works for a small company. They have 2 locations, and he reports directly to the owner that is somewhere between hands-off and oblivious. We'll leave it at that. Chris writes, the owner has asked me to work on some sales management-related issues with the second location, especially since our veteran salesman there is retiring this fall, leaving 2 relatively inexperienced outside salesmen, 2 support, and 1 service tech. The veteran salesman in this second location is the go-to person for questions and the de facto leader, although somewhat reluctantly. Chris writes, my concern is this. Without strong operational leadership in the second location, their sales will decline and cause pain for the rest of the company. The owner seems fairly oblivious to it all, and Chris does not believe it's wise to focus on the sales management issues while the operational issues are ruling the day. Chris says, Carl, the question is this. How does one get ownership to realize that there is an issue with operational leadership, identify the potential leader, and then help prepare them for a time when the veteran salesman will be gone? I have articulated my concerns to the owner, and I don't know how well it has sunk in. So, Carl, obviously, I've been thinking about this for months. I've allowed you to think about it for mere moments, I should say. You've been thinking about it for quite a bit, but maybe an hour or 2. As you read this, off the top of your head, what comes to mind if you're looking to help Chris?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things that jump at me. One is the car crash that is coming is the veteran person leaving. Mm-hmm. And this impending car crash has created a sense of urgency that I have to solve this problem that's coming. Chris has identified, though, that right now there's a problem with a balance of operations and sales. That problem seems to have existed for quite a while.
Right.
So this person needs to go to management, his manager, the owner, and say, we have a problem right now. Mm-hmm. We have a bigger problem coming, and we can begin to solve this problem now. We'll help solving the problem later. So that's the first thing. I think my immediate solution idea is you have to go to your manager with an answer. Mm-hmm. You have to put a proposal together. You have to say, this is what I want to do. You have to demonstrate leadership and say, this is my solution. I need to hire a person. I need to hire 2 people. I need an ops person. I need a salesperson to replace my existing. I need this, I need that. Whatever the answer is, whatever you think the answer is, you have to go to your manager with what you're proposing so that that person has something to react to. They need to be able to say, yes, oh, I love that, do that. No, that's crazy. I wanted you to solve both problems. I wanted you to stretch between both locations. I want you, my trusted employee, to solve all this problem and so that I never have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get some reaction from them. The only way you're going to get a reaction is by presenting what you think a solution is.
Yeah, and I read that last sentence is, I have articulated my concerns to the owner, but I don't know how well it has sunk in. My question would be, have you put this on paper? And too often these are verbal discussions that we're competing for attention. We're dealing with other things, and it's different when you say, I've thought about this, I put it on paper, I want to discuss it with you, and then I want you to go spend some time with it. So that'd be my first question. If the answer is yes, some other things come to mind too, and you use the word disguise. You said this is a different kind of problem. It's in disguise. And I said, explore that a little bit. And you referred to the thing that jumped out at me right away is you have a salesperson who is the operational go-to de facto leader. And me, I love working with companies in our industry and focusing on sales performance and improving it. And so often the answer is you want your salespeople to sell more, have them stop doing other things, like being the go-to de facto operational leader.
Right. And this place is running fine. Presumably profits are good. Presumably everything's fine. There's no apparent pain.
Yes.
Without apparent pain, I'm not going to solve a problem that doesn't seem to exist. You have to understand that whatever you're making now, if you had your top salesperson selling more, you could be making more.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And I think your word of disguise is, and a lot of times these are certain, they appear to be issue A, but they are really issue B or C in disguise. And the disguise is that things are good. Economy's good. We've been selling more. We've been growing. You know, maybe the owner is sitting there saying, I'm just fine. As long as we get these results, I don't care what happens below the surface. Figure it out.
Right. This year, we're doing great. The last 2 years, we've had a higher gross margin than we've had ever.
Right.
And the question is, well, what could it be if we solve the problems that we aren't really acknowledging that we have?
Yeah. And I think the issue at 30,000 feet, Carl, like your take, is how do we go about, how do we think about managing up? How do we go to the owner in a way that we say, hey, I know the employee, but I want to influence, I want to persuade, but I want to do it in a way where I respect the boundaries that exist between employee and owner, which I clearly understand.
Yeah. And I think managing up is the same basic process, regardless of your level. If you are a frontline manager and you have to go to the location manager, if you're the location manager, do you have to go to the regional manager? If you're the regional manager, up. It's
Sure.
the same. And that is, as we talked about, put it on paper. Mm-hmm. What's your solution? I had a problem a couple weeks ago, something sticky I've been trying to figure out. Didn't have a great answer. I needed to go. I was in front of the executive group and I was like, I want to just say to them, help me think this through. Mm-hmm. And I realized that that's not a great outcome. I can't do that. I need to put something on paper. And I put it on paper and I was like, gosh, they're going to hate this. My odds of getting this through, I think this is the right answer, but the glass seemed half empty. They're going to tear this apart. And in fact, that's what happened. It wasn't my finest 30 minutes. They tore it apart. We ended up doing something entirely different. But we have a great outcome now. Mm-hmm. And we have a solution and we're moving forward and everyone is going to easily be on board. But if I hadn't sort of bit the bullet and made a choice and put it down and just be prepared to have them not like it, we wouldn't be moving forward. We wouldn't have a plan. So it's worth it.
Yeah, I don't know if you found as you've been writing more, but myself writing consistently for a long time, part of the reason that I write is for me to think about what I think, if that makes sense. When I have these ideas, I put it on paper and I take a step back from it, I'm like, that ain't right. That's silly. There's holes all over this place. And you're like, okay, well, what do I really think, right? And then you rehash it and you get to a place where you say, yeah, this is what I think. And this is why I think it. And this is why I can, with passion and persuasion, and hopefully I can influence other people by convincing them this is the right way, whether it's an item big or small.
For sure. And that's very much what makes writing hard is you're committing. Mm-hmm. So when you write your plan for your manager to look at, you're committing to an idea and you're preparing for them to say, yeah, that's a lousy idea. And none of us like to be told that we didn't have a good idea. And like, hey, fortunately, my bosses aren't going to say to me, you're an idiot. I can't believe you thought that. They're going to say, yeah, we're going to do something different. But writing it down and committing is the hard part, but it's the essential part.
Yeah. The other thing that jumps out right here is thinking about what, in this case, the owner is thinking. And I would say, are you 100% clear, Chris, in this case, that your goals are his goals? And this goes to kind of the overall leadership aspect of what are we trying to do? How are we going to get there? And maybe the owner's goals, spoken or implied, is I want to own the business and I want it to return $1 million to me. And I do not want to think about it one iota.
Right.
And every time you come to me, I get annoyed because I do not want to get involved. Other hand, maybe it's we got the owner who wants to micromanage the hell out of certain aspects and abdicate responsibility for the other parts. So I would start by just saying, all right, let me put on paper, if they're not clear already, do we have the same shared goals? And needless to say, if there's any difference of opinion there, well, that's where you start. But once you say, hey, you and I both agree, our goal between two locations is to sell $32 million at 28% gross margin. And we want to do it without growing headcount more than 2 people. All right. If that's the desired end state, now you and I can work together, or I can make assumptions about how we can get there in a way that would work for you.
And then as always, I would add the struggles you're going through at this level, Chris. Think about the people that work for you, and do they have the same struggles in coming to you? Take it that next level, and are you making it easy for them to bring things to you so that you can react? And how are you reacting? That's a whole separate book and a whole nother podcast. But
well, we've talked about this very recently as you and I have been together, but sometimes I get all wrapped up into a project or a challenge, and I fall into the incorrect trap that I must solve it. I have to do everything. And oftentimes there's some very obvious people in your area that work with you or for you or who could, that you can delegate things to. And I think that's a great point, is who are the people at location 2 or location 1? Is there a way that they can lend their talents, their perspectives, their insights to alleviate some of this burden that's on you? And maybe you end up, after talking to them, you end up in the position where you're kind of like, well, they're not going to be much help. I'm going to have to do it myself anyway. Okay, fine. But at least you've explored those options.
right.
And I continue to fall in that same trap over and over and over again. And I keep have to reminding myself, I have a team here that I pay to support me. Ask them to contribute. And inevitably they do.
And also ask them what they want. You may have somebody that works for you that does not seem like in your mind is going to be the next great big salesperson, but maybe they think they are. And maybe with some development, they can be there. And just asking, what do you want? And what is your plan can present some options you didn't know existed.
Yeah. The other thing that jumps out here is I always come back, and if you listen to this podcast for a while, we've shared this document. It's available at behindyourbacksales.com/tools. It's our GAP model. G stands for goals. A stands for activities and output. The P stands for personal plan of accountability. And the second P stands for performance review. I'm also curious if Chris in this situation is struggling a little bit because maybe his roles and responsibilities aren't that clear. And when someone says, hey, you're in charge of location A, and I want you to go solve issues at location B, sometimes it's do I need a new job title? Do I want more accountability? Do I want more money? Do I want a different title? Like, what? Are there other things here that you're saying, hey, that's not really what I do, and it's going to be more work, and it's going to be a pain in the neck. It's going to increase the risk that all my goals and my compensation are tied to the performance of location 1? Like, are all of these things really clear?
And you might need to deliver some hard facts to your manager. I'm not willing to do that. I need more money, as you say, to do that, or whatever. They may be making an assumption that you're just going to solve all the problems. And you need to be clear.
Yeah. And
which is not easy.
Right. This whole, I know people continue to roll their eyes, and so do I, but I repeat it. This idea of the, New England Patriots and Alabama Crimson Tide is know your role, do your job. And if we're really clear on your role on the team and what you do, that's all I want you to do. And as leaders, our job number 1, make sure that is 100% clear. Do they know their role, and do they know what their job is? And if that changes, how are we communicating that? Or as an employee, and you got to manage up, your role, your responsibilities are changing, go back and say, I just want to make sure there's clarity here. Let's talk about my role. Let's talk about my responsibilities. ... If you want to get paid more, whatever, ask for what you want. Speak up.
Right. And don't forget that if you're the New England Patriots or any organization, your plan and your clarity is only as good as the people that you have employed.
Yep.
And if Tom Brady leaves, your plans and goals and clarity aren't quite as good. So assess your people, reward your people, develop your people, etc.
Yeah, and we have a talented individual. He's getting on in years. He said, I'm retiring at this date. Like, pick a company, pick a state. This is happening everywhere. And this idea of succession and planning in general, I'm sure there's an exception to this rule. My advice is start earlier than you need to. And if someone says, what is that line? I might say, I don't know, somewhere between maybe 3 and 4 years ahead of time. But this idea that we know Carl's going to retire in 6 months, when's the right time to start articulating what the plan is? Yesterday, now, stop, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, if you can see the car crash coming because your senior person is leaving, you've waited too long. Now, that doesn't help you solve a problem. You need to start now. But one of our old prior CEOs always used to say, the best time to plant a tree, 20 years ago.
The next best time?
Second best time, today.
Right.
So, yeah, succession planning, get on with it. We can all do better at that for sure.
Yeah. So, Carl, let's make sure we're very clear on ways we can potentially help Chris. So say he zeroes in and says, yeah, right, put a plan on paper. How do I do that? I have some specific things. I should say I have some general things. You had some specific things. At the risk of putting the cart ahead of the horse, you go first. What are your thoughts on immediate next steps? You say, Chris, here's what I would do from here.
Yeah, I would sit down immediately and think, what is my solution? This is a headcount problem on some level. Do I need one person to replace my senior guy and we're going to let the status quo roll? Do I need 2 people? Do I need an ops person and a salesperson? I need to immediately go talk to everybody that works at that location and see what they want and what is in their view of the future. So I guess the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to talk to people. I'm doing some investigation. I'm doing some research with the team. And then I'm deciding, do I want one person or do I want 2 people? And then I'm making a pitch. If I want 2 people, what's my ROI? How do I pay for that?
Right.
How much better does my sales team need to perform to pay for those additional people? What operational gains do I make by hiring an operational person? How do I pay for this? Put it together and go make my pitch.
Yeah, and I know Chris, and I know he's a good salesman. Any good salesman will proactively think of the most probable objections that will come up. And if you come and say, hey, I want to hire new people, I can tell you as a business owner, if that's ever the question, it's okay. How long does it take to find this person? How much does it cost? What's the activities? What's the output? I'm not opposed to growing the team, but when you add overhead in a cyclical industry, yeah, I'm always going to be a little bit hesitant to do that. Help me think through that. So I think it's a great start.
Yeah, and also, what is the downside if we do nothing? What are the costs that might be coming due to the car crash, as we've been calling it?
Yeah.
That's impending, right? Sometimes there's a cost from doing nothing. Often there's a cost from doing nothing. How does that balance? Maybe we have to spend money just to maintain status quo.
Yep. Well, you're kind of stealing my thunder there. As I try to do, as I try to think through these things, is there kind of a one-page template that somebody could kind of fill in that maybe it's not perfect? Sometimes if it has to squeeze on one page, it's not perfect. But if it can get 80 to 90% of the way there, I think we're in a good space. So there is a one-page template, as it turns out. If you go to behindyourbacksales.com/tools, you can download this. You will see in this template, there's just a couple sections. The first one is a clarification of the current goals. Can I get consensus that you and I, you owner, me, Chris, from Wisconsin, you and I shared the same goals because this is where our organization is going. Now, once you have that completed and the owner's looking at this and they're saying, yep, they're nodding their head, yep, absolutely. I would then run through 4 categories here. The first one is capital. How much money is it going to take? The second one is talent, i.e. the people on the current team or the people that we're looking to hire. How does this impact them? What are we going to do with the talent that we have on our team? How do we think about the people side? The timing. What's the deadline? How long is it going to take? Map it out, break it down week by week. And then what are the trade-offs? In this case with Chris, owner, you want me to go handle location B to help out there. Well, that means a necessary trade-off is I can't be in location A. And it's possible when I leave location A, the performance of location A goes down and I'm not able to balance location B. So go over the capital, discuss talent, go over time and trade-offs. And you will see in this template, you basically have 1 or 2 lines apiece, right? We're not writing this huge document. Then I would say, can you articulate what the goal should be for, say, 2023 or 2024? Articulate the vision of the future where we have this staffed accordingly. We have people in place who are knowledgeable, they're helpful, they're passionate, and they are under the age of 60. So we have some runway, right? So we're not turning around and we're in the situation again. And the last thing is, Carl, to your point, what happens if we do nothing? You want to put that in there because doing nothing is always an option. And you can argue in most organizations, that is the most likely outcome. We don't do anything. And maybe we plan it for a year and we don't do anything. So articulate the results and the most probable outcomes that'll happen if we don't do anything and put it on writing and force the owner in a very nice, helpful way to think through what that reality might be like. So Carl, there, I rambled on about my 1-page template. You can download it and all your friends for free. The giving never ends here at the Behind Your Back Sales Company. BehindYourBackSales.com/tools. Any parting words for our friend Chris in Wisconsin who was asking for a friend?
Yeah, I would say the advice that I would give anybody who is making a presentation to their manager on any topic, be bold, be brave, ask for what you want.
That's it. Be respectful. Might throw that in there.
Respect is good.
Yeah, respect when in doubt.
Kind.
Yeah, totally agree there. So, Carl, thank you for helping me move this forward. This was sitting in my file for quite some time, and I was trying to think of who could help me with it. You were more than up for the task. As I asked Carl to do, as we end every show, if this was helpful for you, please leave a recommendation or a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Those mean more to us than you know. And I will also say we love doing these things. And a lot of times we're trying to be helpful in any way we can with clients, and we're getting questions like these. So if you want to submit something that you want us to think about and hopefully be helpful in a way that we did here, hopefully, with Chris in Wisconsin, do not hesitate to email me directly at bradley@behindyourbacksales.com, bradley@behindyourbacksales.com. And in the subject line, put AF, asking for a friend. And sooner or later, we will probably dive into it. We love doing this sort of stuff. So we're going to close out like we always do. Carl, take us home. You, my friend, you are owed nothing.
Deliver value first.
Thanks. Make it a great week.